dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Andrew back on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain Mark Angelides, and Tim Donner, senior political analyst over at libertynation.com, remains Tim Donner. Thanks for sticking around, Tim. We just got into talking about the gubernatorial contests, and specifically, I want this last weekend. Specifically, I want to talk about the Virginia one between Abigail Spanberger and Winsome Earl Sears. For now, the Republican lieutenant governor, but not for much longer. And you were just mentioning before we went to break about how Jay Jones, the Attorney General, kind of got some cover by being down ballot from Abigail Spanberger. But Abigail Spanberger, I think it seems to me, Tim, and you're the top political analyst on the show here. It seems to me that this was more a case of Winsome Earl Sears' loss than it was Abigail Spanberger's win. Now, granted, Virginia's, it's D.C. adjacent, so it's got a lot of people who are reliant upon D.C. and the federal government for their work. And these guys, they've either been fired during the first 9 months of the year, or this last month they're furloughed. And so there's some built-in things here. But I think it would have been a lot more competitive if Winsome Earl Sears hadn't really... she kind of backed away from the MAGA base, and which isn't huge in Virginia. I mean, it exists, no doubt about it, it exists. But I think that, do you remember 2022, when I think it was Glenn Youngkin's mantra, wasn't it? It was hold the House, flip the Senate, something like that, and failed to do either. And as Lieutenant Governor, Earl Sears came out and blamed Donald Trump for this, and that relationship's never really recovered.
No, first of all, let's say that if Glenn Youngkin was running for re-election, with a popularity of approval of 58%, I think that Youngkin probably would have been reelected because he really has been effective. He's an excellent retail politician. But Sears made the mistake of separating herself from Trump and doing a back and forth with him, as you say, in 2022. And at that moment, Trump just completely wrote off Sears, who was not a good candidate to begin with. She just never got traction, and was probably going to lose anyway. But when the shrinking of the federal government and the firing of all those federal employees that live in Northern Virginia took place, and she was dead woman walking for weeks, if not months. So it shows you it's very hard to be a Republican these days if you're not completely on the MAGA train, because Donald Trump is the dominant force, the preeminent force in the Republican Party, and there is nobody else to attach yourself to. And so Trump did not endorse Sears. She wouldn't have won anyway. But the fact he didn't endorse her says a lot about her lack of political skill.
Again, I want to come back to this polling, because polls aren't predictions; they're indicators. But you had an average polling aggregate of 8.4% advantage for Spanberger over Earl Sears. And it's Virginia. You kind of go, oh, okay, she's not the most exciting candidate. She doesn't have Donald Trump in her corner on the campaign trail. 8.4, you can kind of see it. But in the end, it wasn't an 8.4% loss. It was a 15% loss. That's just devastating. That's the entire Virginia GOP apparatus back to the drawing board to figure out how do we rebuild, or how do they rebuild? I mean,
the thing is, Donald Trump has never been popular in Virginia.
Sure.
Writ large. I mean, he is in the southern part of the state, the more rural areas, like in most states. But he's never gone over in Virginia. It's the only southern state that he's lost 3 times.
Yeah.
Most of the others he lost maybe once in Georgia, and that was about it. But Virginia, he lost 3 times. So it's really, in the end, though the result was far more overwhelming than we expected, a 15-point victory. I don't think it would make a whole lot of difference if it was 5 points, 2 points, or 10 points. The fact is, Virginia has now become a certified blue state. It's really not purple anymore. People thought that maybe it was because Glenn Youngkin was elected 4 years ago in an upset over the Democrat operative Terry McAuliffe. But that was just, that was an aberration. And blue states do occasionally, as in New Jersey, elect Republican governors to sort of, as I like to say, the Democrats in these states love to vote for big, broad, big government policies and lots of spending. And then they elect Republican governors to make sure they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the entire Northeast United States, isn't it?
More or less.
More or less. So let's continue that talk specifically about New Jersey here. And Jack Ciattarelli, he did really well in 2021, coming within, I think it was like just over three points of taking the crown from Phil Murphy. And against Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat candidate this time around. This was the only one that I really thought had a chance of, if not turning to the Republican, at least being something we'll be watching down to the wire in the early hours of the morning.
It's hard to believe because Ciattarelli, by most accounts, ran an excellent campaign.
Yeah,
he's an excellent retail politician.
Yeah.
But the failure of the polls in this one was just enormous. I mean, I think even most Democrats thought that Sherrill might win by 3 or 4 points. I don't think anybody predicted double digits, least of all me. I thought Ciattarelli had a really decent shot of actually winning that race. But, even though energy costs have skyrocketed under the Democratic Governor Phil Murphy and the cost of living has gone further and further up, those were the factors that, myself and others thought might weigh heavily in Ciattarelli's favor. In the end, it seems more a referendum on Donald Trump than anything else. Trump had lost New Jersey by only 6 points in 2024, down from 15 points that he lost by in 2020. But, these year after presidential off-year elections are, generally served broadly as a referendum on the first year of the president. And of course, what Trump is doing is so controversial to so many people that, and Republican voters, and this is a huge factor. They've shown consistently they don't turn out when Donald Trump is not on the ballot. And this is the same phenomenon as Barack Obama, who is another historic figure just like Trump. Obama was able to be elected and reelected easily, but his party crumbled. Meanwhile, Trump has been elected twice, some say 3 times, and yet the Republican Party, has not been nearly as effective in the midterms and off-year election with Trump as president.
Right, we're going to be continuing this conversation after the short break. Don't go anywhere.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.